drop that down so people can see? Thank you.
Hello, Atlanta, Georgia. Are we ready to elect President Trump for 4 more years?
Well, we already did.
Yeah, we already did.
Hello? All right. It's true. We already did. We won the election on November 3rd, 2020.
That's right.
What has happened since then is the biggest fraud in the history of the United States of America. We all saw it. They're launching investigations and they're filing lawsuits, but we all saw it. I was there. I covered the election on election night. Every single one of us saw Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, even Virginia going for President Trump on the night of the election. And it wasn't until 4 a.m. 4 a.m. after they sent home the observers and the vote counters and the media and all the citizens went to bed, quite literally in the dead of night, that they decided to steal the election by pumping the ballot box full of fraudulent absentee ballots. We saw it first in Milwaukee, 169,000 absentee ballots in Milwaukee. That would give Milwaukee an 83% turnout rate. Does anybody believe that Milwaukee has an 83% turnout rate? Hell no. It doesn't make any sense. And so what started in Wisconsin then spread to Michigan, where they found 250,000 mail-in votes in Detroit. 250,000, where they were counting them in the TCF Center, and nobody was allowed to watch it. They started putting up pizza boards and cardboard in front of the windows so people couldn't even see inside. And we're supposed to believe that nothing funny was going on inside there? That is a joke. And we know that the fraud happened. And now the fight is raging right now to stop them from stealing this election that we rightfully won. It has been a fact that not many people have spoken so much about, that President Trump actually added 10 million votes to his vote total from 2016. Barack Obama didn't do that. Barack Obama got less votes in 2012 than he did in 2008. President Trump was the largest vote getter in the history of the United States of America. There are 73 million patriots that support this president, that saw what went on, and we're not going to take it. They telegraphed from the very beginning exactly how this would go down. They told us months in advance. President Trump knew about this as far back as June. He said the mail-in ballots would be the source of fraud like we've never seen in American history. And it started with the coronavirus and the lockdowns.
So true.
And then social media began to tell us that they would not allow a candidate to declare victory prematurely. Why would they all say that? Why would they all change the rules, unprecedented, to say that? Because they were planning on this red mirage tactic. President Trump runs up the vote totals with a clear victory, and in the days and weeks after, they would steal it. We knew exactly how this was going to go down. But they didn't count on one thing. They planned for everything. They calculated this for 4 years, but there was one thing they didn't expect, and that was us, the American people, rising up and taking to the streets, taking to the streets, storming the state capitals, turning out and showing these state legislatures that we are not going to take this without a fight. And we're not. I was in Lansing, Michigan last week. I was in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. And now we will be in Georgia until Saturday. And you've got to keep turning out after that.
Every day, man.
Every state capital across this country, we have to turn out and demand in one unified voice that our Republican state legislatures pick the electors for Trump. Get aside from this fraudulent election. There is so much fraud. Forget about recounts. Forget about all this phony business. There's too much fraud to even keep going at this point. Put the electors in Washington, D.C. and send President Trump back for 4 more years. That is what 4 more more years, 4 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 more years. That is what the people voted for on November 3rd. They have been talking to us for years now about our democracy. Have you heard that one on CNN?
Right.
We have to protect our sacred democracy.
Oh, yeah, right.
And in 2016, it was so much hullabaloo about foreign interference from Russia. And they didn't let that go. Well, they still haven't let it go. With phony impeachments and phony investigations, and the mainstream media doesn't stop with that. And now that we see in this state in Georgia, they discover day after day thousands of uncounted ballots. And wouldn't you know it, that every single ballot stash goes majority for Trump? It's pretty funny how that works, doesn't it? And they call us conspiracy theorists for saying now that there's a problem with this democratic process. Well, we're not conspiracy theorists. We're telling the truth. And we saw what happened. You know it, I know it, they know it. Pretty much the whole world knows exactly what happened on November 3rd. So we are going to demand that Governor Kemp call a special session of the state legislature and choose Republican electors to vote for President Trump in Washington, D.C. this December. Special session, special session, special session, special session, special session, special session. Are you listening, Governor Kemp? Governor Kemp owes his entire political career to President Trump. Most of these Republicans owe their political career to President Trump. President Trump made the endorsements, and he did the fundraising, and he built a wall, and he made this country great again. And now where are all these damn Republicans?
Where are they?
Where is Nikki Haley? And where's Mitch McConnell? And where's Marco Rubio and Dan Crenshaw? And Madison Cawthorn? They can take a stand for a lot. Madison Cawthorn can, like Israel. But they cannot stand up for the president that got them elected in the first place. It's a disgrace.
Yes!
And this revolution that President Trump started when he came down that escalator in July 2015, it doesn't stop now. We're not going to let it. And I'll tell you something. Whether we get President Trump for 4 more years or whether we don't, we are still going to keep coming back out here.
That's right.
Because this globalist takeover over this country has to end now. They have told us what their plan is for this country if they win. It's a little thing called the Great Reset. How do we know about it? We know about it because Joe Biden has been saying Build Back Better for the past 6 months. The same slogan that Klaus Schwab and the globalists across this country are using. They don't want to go back to normal. They want a new normal where you own nothing and you have no privacy and you have no rights and you have no dignity and we have no humanity and we have no freedom. But this is America. You are America. And we are not going to surrender our civilizational inheritance, the greatest civilizational inheritance, without putting up a fight. And I don't care how many days I have to stand outside of a state capitol and yell into a microphone until that happens. And this is only the beginning. When we talked about the Million MAGA March on Saturday, when 500,000 patriots showed up and stormed that sick Capitol, the sick core of this rotting empire, when I said that was only the beginning, that wasn't rhetoric, that wasn't a false promise, that's the truth. And I'll tell you something, these protests will continue, but there will be more. Because everyone in this crowd probably has a job. Is that right?
Yeah.
The same can't be said about Antifa and the left and Black Lives Matter. The point I'm trying to make is Trump supporters make this country work. They can't live in their gated communities. They can't live at the top of their high-rise luxury apartments without us. And if they continue to take away our rights and destroy our way of life, then we will shut the country down.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
Because I don't know about you, but I'm getting really tired of being kicked around by globalists. I'm tired of being told that I can't go see my sick grandmother in the hospital because of the coronavirus. But Black Lives Matter is out there every day smashing windows and vandalizing our monuments. I have had enough. I've had enough with the masks and the bureaucrats and the bullshit that they have put us through. So this is only the beginning of the takeover over this government by we the people. 1776 is happening once again. And they don't fear us, by the way, when we're tweeting about it online, where they can censor us. But maybe they'll start to get nervous when the truckers stop making deliveries. Maybe they would start to get nervous if people stop paying their taxes. They would start to get nervous if we, the constituent generational Americans that make up this country, threw off our chains and rose up against this system. They think it won't happen, but I think I've seen enough to tell you that it will. It's going to happen.
Let it happen.
So this is where we are. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here the next day. And I'll be touring the country, going to different state capitals. If you're local, you got to stay here.
I'm right behind you, buddy.
Because we have to stop this steal from happening.
Stop the steal! Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
Stop the steal! Stop the steal! Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
Stop the steal! Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
So thank you everybody for coming. We are going to have 4 more years of President Trump, and I'm going to turn over the microphone.
So Alex comes and he's going to end up disrupting one of us. So I figure the best of us will talk now. Nick Fuentes. Again.
Thank you. Let's go. Thank you. I'm starting to lose my voice. This is my third or fourth deal. Let's go. Well, it's also very hot. I got a winter jacket in Georgia.
Last night with Wisconsin or Michigan.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Oh, there is a lot of encouraging signs happening right now, I have to tell you. Because we saw in Michigan, I don't know if you've been following that episode this week. Yes. But a couple of days ago, 2 Republican patriots in Wayne County were fighting to refuse to certify the results of the election coming in from Wayne County, which, if you don't know Wayne County, that's Detroit, Michigan. If you've been following the story, you know that they were the recipient of death threats. They were doxxed and harassed, and basically they were bullied into voting to certify the results in Wayne County, Michigan. I was very upset about that. Because in these swing states, we don't have a lot of numbers to work with. We can't afford to let 1 or 2 or 3 get away from us. We have to have total victory in most, hopefully all of them. But what happened in the past 24 hours has inspired me. They came forward and sworn affidavits have been filed, and they have rescinded the certification of the ballots in Detroit. And Detroit is important in itself because Detroit will dictate which way Michigan swings in this election. But more than what that has done for the future of Detroit and its 16 electoral college votes, what those two local Republicans did should inspire every single Trump supporter in this country. Because those two people were not celebrities, they're not rich, they're not big and powerful, they are just ordinary Americans that support our president just like everyone here. And in the face of the death threats and the harassment and the doxing and the threats, they persevered. And now they're decertifying the results. They have led the way. And if Republicans can follow in Wisconsin, if they can follow in Pennsylvania and in Arizona and Nevada and in Georgia this week, then we can keep President Trump in office. So just like all of this started 5 years ago with one man, one billionaire, with a supermodel wife, living at the top of a gold palace on Fifth Avenue in New York City. Just like one man started all of this 5 years ago because he said enough. This time around in 2020, maybe it will begin again with just those two Republicans in Wayne County refusing to decertify, or rather, refusing to certify the results. And people in Washington, D.C., all the people I described earlier, the Marco Rubios, the Mitch McConnells, the Nikki Haley's, they could take a little bit of a page out of those Patriots' playbook. And those people with more power and more money, and they live a different life than any of us will ever live, they ought to start representing and protecting the interests of the people that put them in office in the first place. Because we expect this from the left. Democrats rigging an election, yeah. Is the Pope Catholic? I mean, we all know that's how they operate, although that's not a great idiom anymore. Not a perfect idiom these days. But point being, Democrats rig every election. They've been doing it forever.
They're criminals.
So we know that they're going to rig the election. And we know that the media is going to lie about it. And we know that big tech will censor us to protect Biden. We know that they're going to do that. We expect it. And they're our enemies. In some sense, that's their job. But we, the people, elect Republicans. And Republicans get into office and they betray us.
Yes. Every time.
Every single time. And we've come to expect it from them, but it shouldn't be that way. I will take an enemy any day of the week over a traitor. And that is what the Republican Party is full of. Traitors. They betray us. They betray this country. They betray our Constitution, our heritage. They betray God. The Volkish horn.
And that's that.
They betray God, and they are complicit in the lies and the global special interests that have sold this country out.
George Bush.
And Enrique made a very good point earlier. This is about America first. And we've been talking about the World Economic Forum. The answer to globalism is America first. America first! 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 And insofar as President Trump seems to be the only man in America, maybe except for Tucker Carlson, who is willing to put this country and its people first, my allegiance is to President Trump.
Need a new party. 1776.
And this seems to be the case. When it comes to the issue of immigration, it's not just Democrats that are leaving the borders open and importing millions even of legal immigrants into the country to take our jobs and commit crimes in our cities, stealing jobs from American college graduates. Imagine that. You send your kids to school, and how much debt are you in? $100,000, $200,000? $300,000? In some of these schools, the tuition is upwards of $65,000. You send your children to school to study computers, engineering, whatever it is. And our representatives, Republican and Democrat, bring in people from India and China and Asia with H-1B visas to take your children's jobs. They come in with less expertise, and they take less wages, and they take our jobs. And this is why, if you look at any of the numbers for wages, if you look at the numbers for millennials or Generation Z moving out of the house and creating families, it has been abysmal for the past 30 years.
It's killing the West.
That's right. It is killing us in the literal sense of the word. This country cannot even continue to self-generate itself. What can you say about a country that cannot be a place for families to be created? A country where marriages aren't happening, where children aren't being born. A country that has gotten to that point, it is hard to see what is left in that system that is worth preserving. And we have Republicans and conservatives and self-appointed conning pundits that want to tell us that this is a battle about hamburgers versus socialism. The socialists want to take away your hamburgers and things like this. And don't get me wrong, I am not a socialist. But we can never be mistaken about the fact that the real threat posed to us is not by Karl Marx, a dead philosopher. It's not by communism, a dead ideology. The threat that is posed to us is by the globalist special interests. I don't know about you, but the Koch brothers, now the Koch brother, have done more harm to this country, have probably done more harm to each and every person here than Karl Marx ever did. Yes, sir. And the Koch brothers fund the Republican Party. Ooh. And Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. And these billionaires that are putting up the money for these corrupt politicians, they're making things this way. Don't let anybody tell you that things have to be this way in this country. They don't. Correct. This was a great country. And it has been made this way, the way that it is. I've been to Washington, D.C. and Atlanta just this past week. And what do you see when you go to these cities? What do you see when you go to our nation's capital or the great cities of this country? You see filth. You see homeless people laying in the streets, garbage everywhere. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
And we don't have to take it anymore. There is no reason things have to be this way. This is not a third world country. This is the United States of America. And when I was in Washington, D.C., going to the Million MAGA March, I encountered a woman with her young son outside of my hotel. And she saw us dressed up in our Trump shirts and hats. And she said, "Are you guys going to the march?" I said, "Yeah, are you guys going to the march?" She said, "We came all the way from Michigan." And she told me that her husband was a blue-collar truck driver. And that the wages that he's making now are the same wages he was making 30 years ago. Now tell me, has that been the case for the billionaires that run big tech? No. Has that been the case for the billionaires that run the companies on the S&P 500? No. Take a look at the S&P 500. Since the lockdown started earlier this year, we have had our lives ruined on a personal level. Easter was canceled. They're telling us Thanksgiving and Christmas are canceled. Your grandparents' funeral is canceled. School and jobs are canceled. You're fired, you're laid off, your business goes out. But take a look at the market cap of the top 5 companies on the S&P 500. Is that the story for them? Jeff Bezos has nearly doubled his net worth since March. They get richer while our companies are destroyed and we're laid off. And we have to expect less while they get nothing but more. And who is out there saying that from the right-wing perspective?
Nobody. But capitalism's good, man.
Don't get me wrong. I am in favor of the free market and private property and capitalism, but that's not what this is.
Globalism.
What's going on now is profiteering. Just like venture capitalists, they have bought this country and now they are ripping it to pieces and selling spare parts for a cheap profit. And to get back to my point about Michigan, that woman who told me that her husband, the truck driver, has not seen a wage increase in 30 years, with tears in her eyes, she told me how badly she felt for me and for my other friends who are Generation Z. With tears in her eyes, she said she felt so bad because we would never know how good it was in this country, how good it was when she was growing up. And she's right. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and for my entire life it has been this way. Every night on the news, it's a toddler, a 3-year-old shot to death in a gang killing. It's the economy's in another recession. We're involved in another foreign war that's unending. It's Afghanistan, it's Iraq, it's Syria, it's Yemen, it's Niger, it's wherever they needed to be. Sudan. It's been like that my entire life. But I heard what she said, and she was a woman of faith, and I thought to myself, those simple words that we read in the Bible, what is impossible becomes possible through Jesus Christ. It is a pretty hopeless situation when you look at it a certain way. On the other side of this fence is this power of the state. The power of the politicians backed by the giant corporations, and they've got the mainstream media, and they've got big tech, and they've got the billions and trillions of the world, and the banks, and Hollywood, and academia, and the celebrities. And it seems like that is a pretty rough uphill climb. And I said this on Saturday, and I'll say it today, and I'll say it every day. They are woefully outnumbered. Because not only do we have the American people, but we have God on our side. And if we believe in God, and we ask God for His help, we will have the final victory because we are fighting for good.
Christ is king.
Christ is king. Christ is king. Christ is king. Christ is king. Christ is king.
Christ is king. Christ is king. Christ is king.
And it's so true. Jesus Christ is the sovereign over everything that you see.
Yeah.
Not Klaus Schwab. Not Barack Hussein Obama. Not Joe Biden or Janet Yellen or whoever. Christ is the king.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as Jay said, this isn't about Republicans and Democrats. It's not even, in some sense, about globalists versus the people or anything that you see in this world. This is about good versus evil.
Yeah.
Some people treat politics like it's arbitrary. Well, you know, they have strong beliefs on their side, and we have strong beliefs on our side. Why can't we all get along? Joe Biden said, when he declared victory falsely and illegitimately, he said, it's time to cool down the temperature. It's time to heal. It's time to unify the country. That's what Joe Biden said. Jesus Christ said that He came to divide. Jesus Christ came with a sword. If Joe Biden wants to bring the temperature down, we need to raise the temperature up. They want to lull us back to sleep, back into a false sense of complacency. They promise that if we surrender and we let them steal this election, that they'll relent, that they got their way, and now at least we can stop fighting so much, and it's such an ugly news cycle. But I'm not done fighting! And they think that if we surrender, knowing full well that the fraud is going on, they're trying to persuade us now that it might be better for us. Well, we could say, we know that the fraud happened, we know the election was stolen, but hey, at least things will go back to normal or something. At least Joe Biden's going to listen to us. That's what he said. Do you believe that Joe Biden will listen to us? Do you believe that the liberal establishment will listen to us? They've never listened to us. They don't care about us. They don't care about what we have to say. They want us dead. They want our children raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny.
They want us to burn us.
When they tell us that they're going to listen and things will get easy, that is a lie. The truth is that the only thing standing between them and us is our President Donald Trump.
Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask!
Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop the mask! Stop wearing masks. They don't work. It's a muzzle.
Bacterial ammonia! Bacterial ammonia!
And if you see people wearing a mask, you know they're a slave. Unless, you know, you need to go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. Sometimes it's worth it. I'm in Chicago sometimes to have you wear a mask in the drive-thru.
Wow.
I said, you know what? I could do this all day. I'm parking my car. It's lunchtime. You think this is a problem for me? Go ahead, call the police. Let's create a little traffic jam. Anyway. But the point is this. This is the last stand for this country. It's now or never. In some ways, this is the next best outcome to an outright Trump victory. It may turn out to be better because people have woken up. And that's the difference. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, people played along because it was the 90s and things were good in the 90s. Now things are terrible. And this country is turned to garbage. And people see the fraud that's going on. It's out in the open. And people have woken up, and now they're taking to the streets. And if we don't capitalize on this opportunity to get every Trump supporter, 73 million people, to resist this illegitimate regime, we will never get another opportunity like this. So it starts right here, right now. Georgia, 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 Georgia. 1776 is commencing again. And this time we are taking back our country from the globalists, and we are going to put